This is BBC World News. I'm Matthew Amroliwala. On today's Global, the devastating volcanic eruption and tsunami that's hit Tonga. A huge ash cloud has engulfed the Pacific Islands. One official said the island nation looks like a moonscape. The volcano erupted underwater. Satellite images suggest some areas have been completely submerged. The shockwaves were so powerful they were felt from Tonga right through to the US.
The most pressing concern would be the water, as a lot of Tongans collected rainwater in their tanks and boiled them for drinking water, but that has been contaminated by the ash.
The latest from UNICEF. Also on the programme, Novak Djokovic arrives back in Serbia after being deported from Australia. Now his defence of the French Open is also in doubt. The British government announces a review into the future of the universal licence fee that funds the BBC.
The BBC has been entertaining and informing us for 100 years, and I want it to continue to thrive and be a global beacon in the UK and in the decades to come. But this is 2022, not 1922.
And arrests in England in connection with the siege at a Texas synagogue after a British man held 4 people captive. The rabbi says he was praying when he realised what was going on.
I heard a click, and it could have been anything, and it turned out that it was his gun.
Hello and welcome back to Global. Let's start with the volcanic eruption and tsunami in Tonga, where a communications blackout means the scale of the destruction still remains unclear. The volcano erupted underwater on Saturday, triggering waves of over a metre high. In the last few hours, the family of a British woman swept away by the tsunami has said her body has been found. So far, it is the first death known in this disaster. Well, Tonga is a nation of more than 170 South Pacific islands, about 2,000 kilometres from New Zealand. It has a population of around 100,000. The Red Cross estimates that about 80% of them may have been affected. Satellite pictures of the eruption are some of the few images we have. There are fears that low-lying villages have been swept away. The thick cloud of ash from the volcano has prevented planes from coming too close or landing, but emergency supplies are being airdropped by military planes from Australia and New Zealand. Our correspondent Rupert Wingfield-Hayes has the latest.
These pictures of the Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai volcano erupting are from last Friday. This is just a foretaste of what was to come a day later, an eruption many times larger. This is the volcano poking above the ocean surface last week. And today, it is completely gone. It's now been confirmed the huge eruption severed the main cable linking Tonga to the outside world. This morning, New Zealand dispatched aircraft to try and find out what is going on.
Some of those islands are reporting that they haven't had loss of life, but I would reiterate that is second-hand and it is early days.
This evening we learnt this British woman, Angela Glover, was killed by the tsunami that hit the island on Saturday. She'd moved to Tonga in 2015 to open an animal shelter. She died trying to rescue her dogs.
The strange thing was the uglier the dog, the more she loved it. Her initial call to go to Tonga was to swim with whales, which she did. And beautiful girl. She's irreplaceable.
Offers from New Zealand and Australia to help Tonga are being complicated by the COVID pandemic. The island nation is currently COVID-free and it wants to stay that way.
They have had disasters during the pandemic previously, from sort of cyclones and hurricanes, and what they did then was just airdrop supplies in, and there was no physical contact or interaction between, say, troops and the local forces.
A century ago, nearly 1 in 10 Tongans died in the 1918 flu pandemic. Any reluctance now to ask for help would not be without reason. Rupert Wingfield-Hayes, BBC News in Tokyo.
Well, the logistics of organising and delivering aid to Tonga are extremely challenging. Daniel Walden is the head of emergencies at UNICEF, and he told me what he's been hearing from his teams in the area.
Our teams in the region are telling us it's been possibly the biggest eruption in the last 30 years or so. And as we just heard, it's not just about the immediate damage from the tsunami. We're also looking at the huge impact of the ash cloud. The guys there have said that essentially we're looking at damaged food and water supplies as a result of the ash cloud, but also the air quality is really questionable. So we're looking at that as well. As we've just heard, we're waiting to hear from surveillance operations by Australia and New Zealand to the full extent of the damage, and obviously we're waiting for a big old green light from the government in Tonga to get on and release some of those supplies that we've got ready to go.
Yes, you were talking about the ash cloud, and as you were speaking, we have some of the latest pictures. It is just vast, and we were hearing reports it goes up as far as 30 kilometres high. I mean, it is absolutely massive. The Red Cross was saying 80,000 people potentially on the islands may have been affected. How worried, first of all, are you?
So this is a really, really serious situation for us. Fortunately, we've got pre-positioned supplies in Fiji and in Brisbane in Australia, ready to go. Usually in this kind of a situation, and we're expecting in this situation in particular, the priorities in the next days are going to be clean water for everybody and sustaining access to healthcare. Obviously, we're still in a situation of COVID-19 globally, and getting people into places is a really tough one. So it's making sure that we work with people we're already friendly with on the island and get those supplies to the people that need them as soon as possible, just as soon as we get a green light from the government.
Yes, you were talking about clean water. That's exactly what we heard from our Tongan student, who was making the point that so many people collect natural rainwater, use that for drinking, and that will all be contaminated potentially by the dust and the ash. What else do you have to actually have readied? Because potentially there may be many people who've had homes swept away.
Yes, exactly. So the pre-positioned supplies that we have in place at the moment, they include straightforward buckets and water testing kits to make sure that any water that is retained on the island is safe to drink. But we also have water and sanitation kits, which include purification tablets, making water safe to drink. On top of that, we've got tarpaulins and tents and temporary shelter for homes, but also for schools and health centres if institutions like that, really valuable institutions, have been damaged by the tsunami.